Hey all, it looks like I am just jumping right in. Ricardo is going to move on to another session. So if you can just let me know that you can hear me okay in the comments, that would be great because we had a little bit of feedback issue. So I want to make sure that I'm not showing any feedback. So if you could just let me know. I'm going to think. Ricardo, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right. Awesome. Cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Some of you have seen bits and pieces of this type of session. If you are familiar with anything we do at Rapid SOS, we have lots of exciting things that are taking place. So with that, I will go ahead and introduce myself for the folks that are here that don't know who I am. My name is Tracy Eldridge, and I am the Community Engagement Manager at Rapid SOS. I spent 20 years in the 911 center and joined the Rapid SOS team about 4 years ago. And in that 4-year time, we are so excited about all of the technology that we've been able to bring to the 911 space. It doesn't only help the caller, but it also helps the telecommunicator. I know firsthand what it's like to first not be able to locate a 911 caller. But we also have some new things that are coming out, and just full disclaimer, as I normally do in my sessions, this is not an infomercial. I am not here to sell you anything. We take pride in providing what we do for public safety for free, and we're going to keep it that way. We love to be able to do that so any and all 911 centers can have access to it as long as they have an internet connection. So back when I started with Rapid SOS, there was clearly a 911 location challenge. And while there is still somewhat of a location challenge because not every device has the ability of sending device-based hybrid location, we are psyched to see so many agencies receiving location information and additional data from the Rapid SOS emergency response data platform. So with the location piece, there is more than just location. There's additional data that can be available with that location that is coming from the device. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of those benefits. We're going to learn a little about stuff that you may not have realized that we've recently figured out, which is really cool. And we're going to talk about now this data challenge. So one of the things that I recall when I first started 4 years ago is, well, let me go back to the beginning of my career. So when I was a baby dispatcher in 1996, it was about 4 years later when they started talking about this thing called NG911, Next Gen 911. And if you've heard me speak before, you've heard me say this. Back then, there was truly 4 things that folks thought NG911 was. Text to 911, pictures, videos, and retirement. A lot of telecommunicators don't want to see pictures and videos of things that they're choosing not to see by being on this side of the call. And I can totally appreciate that. Even though I'm a firefighter and an EMT in my community, and I don't have an issue seeing some of the things that we have to see while we're on that side of the radio. But I know that there are challenges for folks. And one of the things that I also take pride in is what we are doing as an industry for mental health and wellness for 911 telecommunicators. And I'm a huge advocate for that. And as long as we are doing things the right way, I think we will be okay. And the more advocacy, the more understanding, this transition is going to be much easier. However, with that said, it's not just about pictures and videos. I have to say that because there's a lot of folks that hear the word additional data and the first place they go is they're going to see stuff that they don't want. And what you're going to see here is that this next generation 911 thing that we've been hearing about for 20 years now is here. there are many different types of data from many different types of solutions being delivered to 911 today. And we're excited to be one of the folks that has the ability to send a whole bunch of additional data and resources to 911. So the fact that there is all of this data, not only on smartphone devices, but also in other places, that is going to have the ability to connect with an emergency communication center and deliver a request for 911. So why are we here? I want to share this video. Very exciting. We've recently partnered with SiriusXM, and this is just to put into perspective the first responder and beyond, and how additional data can be an added resource for them.
Going into a call blindly takes time away from the care you're going to render to a patient. Once you get to a scene, you need to assess the scene, assess your safety, evaluate the patient. It really puts time on the clock for you. A medical helicopter arriving at that scene by the time we arrive is critical. It really is.
By working with Rapid SOS, we're able to transmit vehicle crash data, driver data, and sometimes medical data as well to the first responders as quickly as possible.
Patient care is our goal. We can respond easier, quicker, and more appropriately with the additional information.
By sending that automatically through the Rapid SOS platform, the telecommunicator can receive all of that rich data at their fingertips to help validate and verify the information that they're being told. We are partnered with over 4,700 911 centers across the country, covering over 92% of the United States population. We've become a trusted partner of the 911 community and the public safety community to help improve and create efficiencies in that response to the emergency call for service.
The impact of saving time en route to a call is saving lives, without a doubt.
Many OEMs already have a very strong brand promise, which is centered around protecting their customers. And what we're doing with this new process is we're taking this and turning it into a data stream. And what that lets us do is add a lot more value on top of the traditional automatic crash notification service, leveraging the information the vehicle can provide.
When companies work together in concert and provide better service to customers, enabling 911 professionals to do the very best job they can do. I mean, that's fantastic.
Every once in a while, an opportunity comes along to make people's lives not only better, but safer. And that's the thing that I think is really exciting about this product. And I can't wait to get it in market and help save more lives.
Having this telematics data is going to answer a lot of questions for us that otherwise would be unanswered.
Seconds save lives. Driving a more informed decision-making process is going to help save lives.
So as you can see, we're very excited that folks in the space are seeing the importance of bringing in this additional data, not just about location, and being in almost 5,000 now of the 911 communication centers out of this, 6,200-ish that are out there, and being able to already see some of this additional data coming through is game-changing. I get text messages, as well as our team. We get text messages, emails. Every day we get at least one, if not more, success stories. And I think one of the challenges is having that open mind to look at the industry just a little bit differently. So many of you know that the platform that we have built to bring in this additional data and location information was called the Rapid SOS Clearinghouse. So moving forward, we are seeing that it has so much more value, and there's so many more sources and features that it can provide, that it is now called the Emergency Response Data Platform. And from this point on in the presentation, I'll probably just call it the platform. So what is the platform, in case you don't know? Basically, cloud-based, standards compliant, location information server, and an additional data repository that has the ability to receive location and data from multiple sources. So how many times have you had somebody come to your 911 center that wants to give you another tool for the telecommunicators to use? I know as a director of a 911 center, I would get contacted all the time. We have this product, we have this data, put it in your center. And what we do know is we don't want 100 different monitors. And while we would love to have it all in one place, we know that that's not possible. There is not at this point the opportunity to bring it in and have every system do one thing at one time. So we want our centers across the US to become rapid SOS ready. That means you are getting your folks out the door quicker. You're giving them more information to equip the responders to better do their job. They're getting accurate location from the operating systems, Apple and Google. And there's also this sense of situational awareness, which I'm going to show you some examples of in just a couple of minutes. So it's an end-to-end solution. One of the things that I mentioned about folks getting nervous about kind of seeing these images or pictures, how about if the dispatcher or telecommunicator didn't have to see those? And there was a way for it to come from whatever device has the ability to send it into the emergency platform and then out to the first responders. But the telecommunicator communicates that, or better yet, your first responders that are in the field actually have access to that information. So we provide a solution that is already capable of being in the hands of your first responders. And we know that folks are using it already, and we've already had lots of success stories. So going back to the notion of being able to send the additional data into the existing equipment that we have today, it's challenging. We know that the Alley screen only has the ability to receive about 512 bytes of data. But being able to have a web-based, over-the-top solution with an extremely responsive, passionate group of folks sitting behind the keyboard, we can update that web browser very quickly. And it is exciting to see how quickly things are being updated. We know that whenever there's big changes to any type of system, it could take months, years even. And I can confidently say that every Thursday we have the ability to update how our systems are working. All right, hold on one second. And then the other question is, folks are wanting to know how we are working in concert, as Brian Font said, with other data providers. So there's a couple of different solutions that are in play right now with the Rapid SOS platform. So number one, we know that we're already sending location information, and that's a pretty straight shot. So device that is capable of sending location information at the time of a 911 call, lots of times before the call is even ringing in the 911 center, sends that information from the device, even if those location services are turned off. That's the exciting part. There's a lot of folks that think that there has to be buy-in from the phone user, and that's not the case. Apple and Google have stepped up, and they are delivering that location to the platform at the time of the 911 call as soon as that call is placed, and it goes directly to the 911 center from the platform via a couple of different mechanisms, and I'll show you that in just a few seconds. The other way is we also have the ability to, if the call cannot go right from the device to the platform to the 911 center, it may have to go in one or two other directions. We don't want to just send things right through to the 911 telecommunicator that hasn't been verified by a human. Yes, it's exciting that we'll come to a day where things can be notifying us in the 911 center and you may not have to have that human interaction. But right now, we don't want to just send stuff through without making sure that we're doing it properly. So as that information, there are two other versions. So instead of going right from the platform to the 911 center, that data goes from the device and notifies either an emergency contact or a central station type monitoring center. And then there is contact to the 911 center that there is additional data available, and all you have to do is turn and look at the screen in which it is displayed. So there's two ways to access the emergency platform: through the Rapid SOS Portal and through our integration partners. And if you see there is a plus. We highly encourage having access to both. There are benefits and limitations to both. So when you take the two of them and you put them together, we are seeing amazing advances in technology. Our integration partners are our bloodline. They are the folks that have that direct into the 911 center, and they're committed. Here is the folks that are committed to bringing in information from the Rapid SOS platform right into your existing equipment. So if you have one of those partners in your 911 center and you haven't communicated with them about getting the technology in there, I highly recommend it. But in the meantime, make sure that you are signed up, getting access, and utilizing the Rapid SOS Portal, which again, free web browser, it's a no-brainer. The sign up isn't that difficult. And there are actually two different versions that are out there right now. As far as who is eligible to access the Rapid SOS Portal, any 911 center, that means if you take 911 calls, if you're talking to the 911 caller, you are eligible to get access to the portal. As far as jurisdiction view, so the portal alone on query view requires the telecommunicator to type the phone number in from the 911 call or text to 911. And while some folks may not want to do that extra step, to me it's not an extra step because it'll save me 20 in the long run if I can't find that caller. And then there's jurisdiction view, which has been out since October of last year, so about a year now. And unfortunately, not every center who has access to the portal has taken advantage to jurisdiction view. And I know there's some folks here in the comments that are utilizing jurisdiction view and they love it. So I'm going to show you the differences in the two, but just understand that if you want to know if you are one of the approved types of PSAPs, you need to connect with your customer success manager. And I'll be happy to connect you at the end of the session when I give you my contact information. So I'm going to show you a few things that we've learned in getting the access to this information, both with querying the phone number and having it automatically pushed through. So the thing with jurisdiction view, so again, it's pretty simple, straightforward. 911 call comes in on query view, you type in the phone number. If the information's there, it's there instantly. In the jurisdiction view side, you have to send us your jurisdictional boundary. Now, if you signed up before October of 2019, then you had basically signed up for the portal and you created a box around your jurisdiction. And you'll still have access to that box when you want to query a call. But to get access to jurisdiction view, we have to have your jurisdictional boundary, the one in the middle. So if you have not sent us through the portal your actual shapefile so we can add it to the box, then you need to go ahead and do that. And basically how that's done is an admin pops into the portal, goes into the admin feature under ECC, and you add it there. It'll tell you what type of file. It's pretty easy. Then it goes through the approval process, and once you have access, you will be turned on. We'll tell you you're ready. You tell us you're ready, because we're not just going to turn it on for you. We don't want just all of a sudden people seeing calls popping up and not understanding what's happening. So you communicate to us, you're ready, we turn it on, and everything changes. So I just want to show part of what the internal part of the call looks like, whether it's on query view or jurisdiction view and you've entered into the actual call record. Calls in motion are getting almost real-time updated location information. This is life-changing, life-saving, sorry. Being able to type that phone number in query view or just simply clicking on it in jurisdiction view, I can see almost real-time updated location information. The closer the pins are together, the slower they're going. The further away they are, the faster they're going. So I chose to make this test call on a highway so you can see the difference, and you can also see exactly where they are on the highway. And furthermore, you can see what direction they're going in. I'm geographically challenged and I don't like words like east and west, but when I ask a caller, what direction are you traveling in, how many don't know? You can see exactly what direction they're traveling in. As far as the additional data that's coming in, this is a piece of jurisdiction view. As you can see on the left-hand side, phone numbers are appearing. Those are the 911 calls that are coming in. The phone placed a 911 call, the number hits the queue, and the location hits the screen. And now when I select the call that I want to go into, I get to see if there's any additional data available, whether it's coming from a vehicle, from an emergency profile. This is a time lapse of Baltimore last year when jurisdiction view was in beta. And you can see the phone numbers appearing on the left. These are all 911 calls that are coming into the city of Baltimore at this one time. On the right side of the screen, you can actually see the vehicle traveling down the interstate. Being able to have that situational awareness is game changing. This is one of our portal beta sites. Back when we first rolled it out in Sacramento, major crash on the highway. How many times do you get 911 calls where there are a whole bunch of 911 calls coming in the same place? This is exactly what happened here. On the left side of the screen, you can see that 23 pins, there's 23 pins in that cluster, I counted them, all came in at 6:12 p.m. And then you have this one little outlier over here that came in at 6:11. If that was a different motor vehicle accident, how easy would it be to get absorbed into that cluster of 911 calls? And a lot of those pins are hitting the screen before the call is even hitting the 911 center. And before I get called out, that is wicked fast. Had to say wicked. The other amazing piece to this is it's portable. It's a web browser. So what does that mean? It means if for some reason I have to shut down my center, I know there was a lot of centers that had to close their doors because of COVID, or they had to move to another place. Being able to pick your web browser up, technically, and move into another center and log in and be able to see your 911 calls, that's pretty cool. But furthermore, you can give it to your responders in their field vehicles. Many of the vehicles have a laptop computer sitting here, and we'll be looking to roll out some responsive features in the near future where your folks are in the field and they can actually see exactly where that caller is and any additional data that might be available for that. And we know that this has already been beneficial. Just one example, we had 2 tabs open in a center where they had their police officer calling in on 911 and a person that had fallen off a cliff while hiking on the other. And that telecommunicator could see both of them and led them to each other. Pretty cool, huh? So some of the benefits and features that are really important for us to share with you is how often the call location is coming in. We know that in our integrated solutions, they're not always querying the clearinghouse as quickly as the web browser has the capability. Now, it doesn't mean you can't ask your partner, your vendor partner, to change that, but just be aware at the timing. We know that in the portal, the web browser, you're able to get that location every few seconds. And some of our vendor partners are able to do that as well. But if it's not doing that for you, advocate and ask them to give you more updated locations, because while the call is active, that location is being sent every few seconds. In addition, if the call disconnects, if you have an integration and the call disconnects, having access to the Rapid SOS portal allows you to go back and query the number after the fact, if you're on query view, or look at the screen in jurisdiction view and see the location. We have times where maybe that integration didn't query the number yet in the call flow. So I'm going to talk a little bit about an abandoned call in just a minute, but there's times that the call doesn't even hit the system. And that blew my mind. We also have the ability to have night mode. Folks are able to change the color. We know that the folks that work the overnight, they don't like bright lights, right? But even being in your response vehicles, to me, this is a safety feature. Being able to have it darkened versus a bright light in the vehicle and lighting up that officer or firefighter or EMT that's kind of sitting on the road helps keep them kind of incognito, right? So when I said earlier that this information gets through to the 911 center wicked fast, this is an example of that. This is a test call that I made, and I videotaped making the test call, putting the phone on speaker, and you will hear the pin drop. So folks were talking about the alert tone that is on the portal now. When I did this session the other day for another conference, there were folks that didn't realize that there's a little speaker button there now that you can turn it on and you can hear when the pin drops. That's really cool. Now I can see and hear that a call is potentially going to hit my 911 center. And if the call, for whatever reason, does not hit my 911 center, now I can investigate further. So watch how wicked fast. I placed the 911 call. The location is already there. And now the phone is ringing.
911 is recorded. Where?
So to be able to see that location before the phone actually rings in the 911 center, and furthermore, if I had disconnected that call, when the pin appeared on the screen, if I had disconnected that call, there's a very high likelihood that the call may not have gotten delivered to the 911 center. And how do I know that? Because through a little bit of investigation and some test calls, we realized that there's this little bit of a window where it's not going to send the call through as an abandon. And to me, that is something that I just always knew in my 911 career and assumed that if I dial 911 and even if I hang up right away, it's going to be delivered as an abandoned call. Well, the lie detector determined that's a lie. It doesn't always happen. And what we're seeing is there are times where a pin is appearing on the jurisdiction view screen and the call's never coming into the 911 center, nor is it going to your neighbor's house. Now, there are times where a pin will drop on your screen, you'll get notified, but the call goes to your neighbor's house for whatever reason. And if that's the case, if it was supposed to happen that way, great. If it wasn't, you should be filing a discrepancy form because something is hooky. And that's a technical term. So in this particular video, you will see that I place a 911 call, and by traditional knowledge, I would assume that when that location appears on the screen, as it just did, and then I hang up, that the call should be going through as a 911 call, and it's not. And I already had this text message all ready to go because I wanted to check with the 911 center to see if they actually got an abandoned call, and they didn't. And I had done this 4 or 5 times. So just to get folks to understand is that, yeah, you're going to have to update some policies and procedures. And don't grumble about it. Don't get frustrated. These are major advances in 911, and it is life-saving features. Imagine how many people have tried to call 911, and in that 6 to 10 second window, their call wasn't able to go through. Now being able to have that situational awareness that that call may have gone through and you actually have a location to send somebody to, that may change things just a little bit, don't you think? And now here's something that has also blown me away. So again, my entire career, I was taught, as I have taught thousands of dispatchers, that if there's a 911 area code on the screen, it is a disconnected cell phone. And that's not always the case. And even though the information has been there on the FCC's website for a long time, now if you look under the picture of the cell phones on the right-hand side of the screen, for more information on this particular topic right here, jump over to the FCC's website and check out the FCC Public Safety docket number 08-51. Because there is what I am calling an NSI imposter. So we know that non-service initialized devices have no service, they have no contract, there's no associated provider, and they are not going to provide anti-alley. That is, if they are not connected to the internet. So what does that mean? Well, there is a list that you see in front of you that the FCC has identified as times when a call will come through on the network and be delivered to your alley and your anti-alley with a 911 area code. And if you are a telecommunicator and you see that 911 area code and you're not verifying or asking that caller verbally what number they're calling you from, then I'm going to call that as a liability, because we should be asking. The network, various spots in the network will cause a call to appear as a disconnected cell phone, when in reality it is a perfectly good working subscriber attached 911 call that's coming in. So not all 911 area code phones on your anti-alley are disconnected cell phones. And that in itself is a game changer, because if I see the 911 area code and I verbalize it, even if you don't have access to the portal today, if you go back to work or you're at work and 911 rings and there's a 911 area code sitting on that alley and that caller can't speak and you hear stuff that's going on, you're going to hope or wish that you had access to jurisdiction view and that this was one of those calls that went in there. On the flip side, if the person can talk and you don't have access to the portal today, but I know you will, then you can ask them what number they're calling from. And if they verbalize that phone number, if you have query view, you type it in. If you don't have access at all, now you have a phone number to give to the carrier when you call and ask them to trace the call. Think back in your career how many times there was a 911 area code and you may not have asked the caller what number they were calling from because you assumed that it was a disconnected cell phone and there was nothing you could do about it. Big game changer. So the two different pieces for query view and jurisdiction view is on query view. If the person can verbalize the phone number, you type it in. And if it was an enabled device, the Apple, iOS 12 or higher, Android 4 or higher, when you type that phone number in, you could be looking at a location as well as additional data. On the jurisdiction view side, if they can't speak, or even if they can speak, you might be looking at the location and additional data and the phone number that is actually attached to that working device. Now I'm going to throw a big wrench in your works. That pile of cell phones that was 2 slides before, that's in a drawer in my house. On the government account that myself and my husband had, we would be able to upgrade our phones every couple of years. So therefore we have a whole bunch of disconnected cell phones. So I took one of those disconnected cell phones, actual disconnected cell phone, I took the SIM card out of it and I connected it to Wi-Fi and I made a test call. And guess what happened? the exact location of the device based on the operating system, and in this case, thanks to Apple, that location was delivered to the Rapid SOS emergency platform, and it was delivered to jurisdiction view. The other key component here is there's another piece of information that also got delivered. So you'll see, now it takes a little longer for this location to get there because as you can see, there is no service on this device.
911, you're being recorded. Where is your emergency?
Hi, this is Tracy.
So that is a test call that I placed, and that location that appeared on the screen as the call was coming in was the location of this fully disconnected cell phone that is connected to Wi-Fi. And the phone number here, that's my husband's phone number. And I did block off the last number so nobody tries to call him. But nonetheless, that's his phone number. That's not the phone number that is associated with that particular device. So I call this a benefited consequence. The benefit is how many times do we have this type of call? How many times do we have a Wi-Fi dial or a call, a non-service initiated phone that's connected to Wi-Fi that somebody calls 911 on? It happens. So imagine if now we have one extra piece of information, the last phone number that was associated with that device. Now we can investigate a little bit further if needed. Now there's three things that are going to happen. If that night, when that 911 call hit the 911 center, it was a 911 area code phone. It's supposed to be. That's what it is. It's a non-service initialized device. So when the dispatcher is looking at that alley screen, 911 area code all day long. But now they hear screaming. They have to send a response. They look over to jurisdiction view and they see the PIN. Well, at least they have a location, right? Now they see the phone number. If they make an attempt to call that phone number back, one of three things is going to happen. Number one, they're not going to answer because it's a disconnected cell phone. Number two, they're going to actually get that boo-boo-dee type phone call notification that it is a disconnected cell phone. And number three, my husband in another town is going to answer because it's an actual phone number, but it's not the phone number that belongs. So there's the consequence, but nonetheless, that consequence probably far and few between. But imagine what a new 911 world will look like when we can start getting better locations on that little kid that has the disconnected cell phone on Wi-Fi making bogus 911 calls. I'll get you, my pretty. And then the other part that's really cool is, again, next generation, it's not just about location information. It's about the tools that help us in other places. This call, as well as this call, came in back to back in a 911 center. No record found. How many times do you have that happen in your center? Majority of the time, from my experience and what I've seen, the majority of the time, that caller can tell me where they are and I dispatch resources and we're good to go. On the other side of the coin, what if they didn't know where they are? And it's that call, that call where they can't tell you where they are and you look at the alley and you look at your map and there's nothing. It says no record found. In this particular case, the alley, the network, was displaying no record found. But on jurisdiction view, there was a PIN. When they clicked on the PIN, they got brought into here where they saw it was a very valid cell phone that should have went through the network normally. No? I think so. And then right after that call, this one came in. And again, a no record found. So a very on the ball director said, I think there's something wrong. And knowing that phone number and that series of numbers there, knows what tower it is, and then reaches out and finds that there is an issue with the tower in that location. To me, that's next generation 911 too. Anything that can move forward than what we have today. Then there's 911 outages. So that was a tower issue. But what about the times that there's 911 outages? And unfortunately, we're seeing these. We just saw one recently. These are a couple of headlines that were in the news recently. And then I pulled the one from Massachusetts State 911 Department. They didn't have an outage, but it was a notification that if the carrier was going to take down the system for whatever reason, they have to give notification. So what that tells me is there are planned outages for whatever reason. And what we're also learning is in the situations where we have had outages for 911, where the caller dials 911 and they can't get through, Jurisdiction View is still plotting those calls. So to be able to see those locations still plotting on the screen and being able to reach back to those folks, that's pretty cool. And seeing these things popping on the screen, maybe you don't even know your 911 system's down at the moment. Now you're seeing these locations and you're hearing them hit the screen, but no calls are coming in. So let's get that fixed sooner rather than later. As for the text to 911, there are folks that have text to 911 in their jurisdiction, and then there are folks that don't. And it's crazy to me that we're in 2020 and we're still only at like 30% of the United States having text to 911 capabilities. But that's the story. And what's really cool about having access to Jurisdiction View is, first, if you have text to 911, I'm going to show you this little video. So here's the test text. With Jurisdiction View, you have the opportunity to see if it is a text to 911 or if it is a voice call. The voice call is going to show a location pin. The text is going to show a text bubble. So that's cool. But what's even cooler is if for whatever reason you don't have text to 911 and I'm in your jurisdiction and I don't know that and I attempt to text 911 because I'm in a situation where that's my only option, even though I'm going to get a bounce back message that says text to 911 isn't available, on certain devices, not all of them, but certain devices, you're still going to see that text to 911 bubble, even if you don't have text to 911. So let me say that again. That text to 911 bubble on certain devices in certain situations has the ability to deliver location to the platform and then be delivered to Jurisdiction View. So what does that mean? Now you have the phone number. Now you contact that person if they did not contact 911 when they received the bounce back message. So other features that may not be readily available with any other mapping type solution is having access to Google Maps. Now, some people love it, some people don't. I totally get that. However, with that said, there are so many amazing features for satellite view. So in satellite view, I can actually look and see things, and I could tell if I have a child that's locked in a vehicle and it's 100 degrees out, I could tell that officer they're in the 4th parking spot from the big red oak tree. And furthermore, they can see it in the vehicle if they want to. But the other thing is that there are benefits where folks can go in and add things. There's a call that I show in some of my sessions of a butt dial on a golf course that goes from one hole to the other. And when that call goes from one hole to the other, the beginning part where you entered the golf course is way on the other side of the highway. So if I'm on hole 17 and I'm having a cardiac event and those EMTs have to go, or more often than not, they're going to drive into the front of the golf course, right? But in this particular picture, you can actually see that there's a road and there's a yard that they can cut through right there and get to where that caller is. So being able to see things like that, or maybe the golf course identifies hole 1, hole 2, hole 3. businesses, Home Depot, if you go onto Home Depot on Google Maps, you can actually zoom in and get the floor plan. So I can tell my responders, walk in the front door, take a left, and go all the way to the back of the building. There's also Street View. Now, these pictures aren't always the same, but it's at least something, right? So in this particular test call, I snatched the little Street View dude over here and I dropped him on the street. Now my house is actually in the woods right here. This little green pin is exactly where I am in my office, in my house. And then these other pins are me walking around. But if this was the house where the incident was, is your house gray with blue shutters? Yep, an additional confirmation. And then there's the additional data piece. So I'm sure there's some questions in there, so I'm just gonna go through these, share some information, and if I don't have time to answer all your questions, you'll have my contact information and we can get together. Android devices are delivering language. So if you are in a situation where the caller cannot speak English, you could potentially see that they speak Spanish, Creole, whatever language that they speak, and that's going to help the situation. Android Pixel 3, 4, and 4a are also sending crash notification information. There is the ability in the near future for us to be able to receive live data streams. When those live data streams are coming, as mentioned, I know that you guys probably don't want to see pictures and videos. Maybe some of you do. But imagine, if you will, how quickly the appropriate response gets to the appropriate location as quickly as possible. Because that's what it's all about. We walk in the door to do this job to save lives. So why wouldn't we embrace the opportunity to get the right response to the right place as quickly as possible? So these are old, this is an old video that I want to share just to put something into perspective. There are lots of folks in a class. If I was in a class and I could see you raise your hand, I would say, hey, raise your hand if you can get a notification from your alarm company that somebody's in your driveway. And there's probably going to be 10 people, if not more, that raise their hand and say, yes, I will get notified if there's a kid riding their bike in my driveway. And that's what's happening in this situation. So yes, I mocked this up just to drive this point home. I was one of the EMTs that responded to this call for a 10-year-old hit by a car. As I'm responding to the call, the dispatcher says there's no injuries reported. So what does that do to me as an EMT? It lowers my index of suspicion. And it wasn't appropriate. Now the telecommunicator can only go by what they're being told. So they're being told there's no injury. As soon as I get there, I walk up to the driver. Well, I go up to the patient and I ask if there's injuries, and yes, he has a hip injury. So my partner and I start treating him, and I ask the driver, how fast were you going? And he told me 10 miles an hour. And then I asked his brother what happened. And he said, well, he didn't really get hit head on. He more bounced off the side of the car. Well, imagine if the owner of this house got this notification, he sees what I'm about to show you, and don't worry, it's not horribly graphic, but I want you to answer me 2 questions. Number 1, was the vehicle going 10 miles an hour? And did Christopher bounce off the side of the vehicle? Now, this is one of my family friends, and I have permission to share this video. But imagine if I'm the homeowner and I'm watching these 2 knuckleheads in my driveway, and then I see one of them get hit by a car, and if my app had the opportunity to connect to the 911 center where this incident took place, and then furthermore I was able to deliver that video, maybe even bypass dispatch and right out to the first responders, I can tell you that if I saw this video while I was responding to this call, I would have been calling for med flight, and he would have been transported to a level 1 trauma center where he belonged based on the mechanism of the injury which was contradictory to what we were told. So Chris just got hit by the car, not going 10 miles an hour, and he didn't bounce off. He's over here. So to have that perspective about why we do this job, having the ability to have wearable devices, Invis Aware is another partner where I can intentionally double click a piece of jewelry. As soon as I double click that jewelry, my phone will ring. If I can answer, I'm going to be met with a recording that says press 1 to connect to 911. I press 1 and instantaneously I'm connected to the 911 center where I'm located. If I can't connect, in Janelle's case, Janelle rolled her vehicle over. She got a keychain about a week before. She rolls over her vehicle. She's trapped outside the vehicle partially, and her keys land on the ground right outside the car. She double clicks it, but she can't get to her phone. So her emergency contact is the one that places the call on her behalf. Being able to see additional data, name, date of birth, emergency contact information, our real-time crash notification, and additional telematics data like you saw in the beginning with SiriusXM. Uber is also delivering vehicle make, model, color, license plate, and state. And if you have Uber in your jurisdiction and you have access to the Rapid SOS Portal and you haven't reached out to your customer success manager to get access to this, what are you waiting for? I know I don't Uber because of my PTSD issues, but I will tell you I feel much safer knowing that if I place a call from that safety toolkit, that telecommunicator is going to know exactly what vehicle I am in. Live Freely, other types of app provider devices. We've partnered with MedicAlert. If you have a MedicAlert profile and one of those bracelets that a lot of folks don't actually wear, but if they place that 911 call, additional information can be sent to the telecommunicator. Apple Medical ID information is being delivered today. If you have access to the portal and you have an iPhone, pop in, put your medical information in, and do a test call. And then we partnered with American Heart Association, American Red Cross, and we created in Direct Relief and created the emergencyprofile.org. You can encourage your citizens to go in there and put their data in there. Right now, there's 3 very specific COVID questions that they answer. So if they place that 911 call, that information can pop up on the screen for you right here. That's an example. We have connected building solutions that are also going through the platform and into your 911 center. So how does that go? Where's zone 4? You can actually see it. And then smart homes as well, being able to see additional data associated with home alarms or any type of data that the house has the ability to send. And then that gunfire detection, safe zone, and Zero Eyes. And we provide a ton of training. So if anybody has a question on how something's going to come through or how they're going to see it, we have a training center. On the portal is a training center that a lot of folks don't even know exists. Hop in there and check it out. And with that, I am just almost at the end of my time. I haven't been able to monitor the comments only because I have had so much information to give you. But here is my contact information. And I would also love for you to find me on Facebook and LinkedIn at On Scene First with Tracy Eldridge. Rapid SOS has given me a wonderful opportunity to start a podcast and a social media presence that shares both amazing technology, not just from us, from other folks that are doing amazing things in the 911 space, but also mental health resources for telecommunicators and public safety. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, please do so. And if you have any questions, want to connect with your customer success manager, shoot me a quick email. And the last thing, if you didn't see it at the beginning of the chat field, and I'll pop it in there again, I want to give away one of these. How many of you want to get one of these beautiful Fingal line flag. So there's a link earlier in the comments where you can just throw your information in there, and we're going to draw a name at the end of the Dare to Be Great conference. So if folks are popping back in there, so on the last day of the conference, we're going to go ahead and draw one of those names. So I'm going to see, Ricardo, are there any questions that popped up in the question field?
All right. So
I don't know if there's any questions that they put in. I mean, there may be some in the. No, don't see any.
Hold on just a minute.
So Christy did say that they have numbers that show up on the portal, but the call doesn't come through. And that is kind of what I was explaining, that if the phone hangs up in that few second area.
Yeah. There's an echo, and I'm not sure.
There's a what?
Do you hear the echo?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, he did an excellent job. I wasn't able to give you that at two different sessions that I would. You should have watching. I have my laptop here and I'm in the wall. I keep trying to trouble. Hold on. I had to have one. So they can hear it going. It'll only be more seconds.
Yeah, you're breaking up a lot, Ricardo. I'm not sure what's up.
It's probably because I'm in two different spots.
You're plugged in like 37 places.
This is true.
Okay. All right. Well, folks know where to find me. I'm not going to torture you in trying to talk. So I'll let you go figure out like what's going on with your stuff. But thank you, as always. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. We truly appreciate it. And, anything we can do for the folks out there, don't hesitate to let us know. Now we can't hear you. Oh, there you are. I was going to say, now we can't even hear you at all.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye, guys.